Could be.
Could
Well,
be.
I'll tell you. First off, happy belated Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Big holiday passing here. Obviously, a day to try to do nice things for the moms and wives in your lives. And
Right.
um, you know, the it's hard because after 28 years, trying to up your game to get the gifts.
Right.
There's always the flowers and things, but you try to you try to do something a little bigger, better, maybe a little something different other than just the standard. And so, not that this is something I did that's like, oh my God, it's so amazing. But one of the things this go around, I'm like, I'm gonna go buy some perfume, like I'm actually gonna go to a
Nice.
store.
Nice.
The it was one of the big department stores, Nordstrom. And
Ooh.
it's crazy. You go in there, and when you go to the makeup perfume area, it's like
The Clinique
chaos
counter.
in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
things going on in there. People in lab coats. It looks like there's
Hmm.
testing and
Yeah.
chemistry going on. It's very amazing.
My mom, I don't even know this, and I've ever told you this. My mom worked in fragrance for
Really,
Hamburgers, the New Jersey's version of Macy's in the Menlo Park
really.
Mall, right next to Arcadian Gardens, where she met my father. They met
Wow.
in the fake flower section. It was great. So anyway,
She spritzed some cologne on them, and
yeah, yeah. She was
that
what
was
they call it,
initiated.
yellow flower, which was like management. So like my mom would wear this yellow flower on her, and I
Wow,
would come see her when she was shopping, and it
that's
always
fancy.
smelled. It was like an overwhelming smell. Like, it's like I was always like in the mood for like Charlie until I smelled it. And I was like, no, that's not. It wasn't kind of free, kind of wow at all.
Yeah,
So anyway,
yeah, like something that you can pick up at Walgreens real quick on the way home.
right, right, right,
But so
exactly,
I
right.
go in, and I'm like, I'm gonna actually talk to one of the girls and try to get something. I know some of the different brands of one that she likes, so I said I'm gonna talk to the one of the actual associates and kind of
Hmm.
explain what I'm looking for. And so once you do that, once they get you interested in that, it's like,
Yeah,
whoa, what about this? And spraying it on
right,
this card
right.
and spraying it on this card, and you know
You're buying
doing the
aluminum siding from them too, so
right,
like
right,
everything,
right,
like yeah.
right. And we're offering this today, and this extra thing, and
Ooh,
this bar of soap on a rope, and whatever. And so you look at it, and I think every time I'm doing that, I think about when they say, oh, these products aren't tested on animals, or they
mm-hmm.
are tested on animals, because that's always been a big thing, right? Like cosmetics and all that, they always say.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Right.
and some of them will have it on the packaging, and just because I'm me, sometimes I think to myself, like, what if I just said, what's the policy with this being tested on animals? Do you think they would know if I said that? And then if they
You have
say,
to ask.
right, like I'm a concerned, I'm a caring, concerned consumer, but then I would follow up with, well, I'm actually looking for something that's tested on animals,
Right.
and
Right.
just to see the reaction on their
You got to
face, like,
play it
wait,
safe.
what,
I'm
what,
sorry. I'm
what?
sorry.
I'm like, well, yeah, and my reasoning would be, well, I'm buying this for a beautiful fair skinned Irish woman,
Right. Oh yeah.
and so
Y-
I don't know how they're going to react. So I want something that you've sprayed in like a rabbit's eyes, and what happens with them, the reaction, because I want to be safe on the back end when I bring this home to give it away.
And then the
And
hierarchy thing, a rabbit's just below an Irish person anyway to a lot of people in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's
right,
how we're treated. That's for sure.
right, like their pink eyes are actually the same
Right.
like
Exactly.
level as that. The pink eyes of the rabbit is it's the most similar thing in the animal kingdom to Irish skin.
An Irish
And
woman,
so I
actually. Yeah. Right. Right. Because they're more
right,
gentle than the men. That's for sure.
and so of course I didn't say that. And probably people, of course, now let me just clarify, I'm not condoning, this is a joke. I wasn't asking for products that have specifically been sprayed in animals' faces, and or they've been dipped in it to see what happens or whatever the reaction is. But again, you get into these conversations, and it's like, wow, I thought I was just going to ask a couple of questions about some perfume, and then it spirals into this whole
Some
thing. And I
other
got to tell you,
things.
like,
And,
they
right.
totally they totally got me. I mean, like, she got me, like, yeah. Well, you because then you feel like an asshole because if you don't buy the whatever upgraded thing, then they look at you like you
Yeah, right.
cheap fuck. But you come
Yeah,
in
right,
here and you're
right.
only going to
We
spend.
tested this on a kitten. You don't want this?
You know how many kittens? You know how many
how many
blind
you know,
kittens are bumping into walls right now so
how many
that your wife can
beagles we
enjoy this
tested
perfume?
this on and had to liberate from this? Speaking of which, this is one of my earliest memories of my mom working in Bamberger's near the fragrance or at the fragrance counter. Um, this is not a lie. This really happened. They speak about animal cruelty. There was a guy that in the store had a monkey that roller skated on this wooden stage and smoked cigarettes. As a kid, and I was like, "This is the coolest monkey I've ever seen." He had like it wasn't like the modern day like rollerblade ones. It was like
Right,
literally
right. Yeah,
four
old school.
roller skates. We're talking like probably early 70s. I remember this, and I remember sitting on the stage because my mom had some juice because she worked in Bamberger's, so she was like a
Right,
boss, and
right.
she's like, "Do you want to go over there and meet the monkey?" And I was like, "Yeah." We didn't like assume like I didn't realize like with that French woman like a monkey can actually rip your face off. Nobody thought about that,
Right, right,
but
right.
um, the I sat next to the monkey while he was smoking a cigarette. And I was thinking to myself, like, that monkey's got weird lips. Like, but he was smoking his cigarette. I remember thinking, like, this is the coolest thing ever because my mom works as a yellow flower at Hamburgers. I'm like, here we are. This is right. It's right.
And
It was
they've
crazy.
chemically treated the monkey with all the different products, so he
Right,
won't
right,
attack. He doesn't have the capability to attack.
right.
They tested some kind of salve on him that knocked his teeth out, so he can't bite anybody and whatever else.
And they actually, what they did was they dipped the cigarettes in the perfume, and that's how they tested it on the monkey, like it was PCP. Like this,
Right, right,
he's
right.
not freaking out,
Yeah,
so that's good.
yeah,
So
yeah. This monkey
they were
smoking
looking,
wiki stick,
right,
running around, running around.
but it was like that's like a seriously a story that you tell people, and they're like, "Oh, that's bullshit. That didn't really happen." I swear to
Bullshit.
God, it's one of my earliest memories.
Hmm.
Either that or I was tripping balls, smelling all those fragrances mixed together, and it didn't really happen at all. But I remember seeing that. It was like those are the kind of things. Santa Claus actually in that same parking lot landed in like the Chopper One helicopter, like on this tower out there, and he got out of a helicopter, and we're all there, like winds blowing everywhere. We had no rules back in Jersey back in the day,
I was
but
gonna say, and what's
it
weird is
was
the monkey was the pilot.
yeah, right. The monkey was the pilot,
You're like, holy
right,
shit!
right.
This chain smoking monkey flies a
The
chopper.
guy gets around. And they
That does
and
sound like you.
he's actually
Are you
he's
sure you weren't huffing the perfume and not smelling it? Because are you sure this really happened?
I don't make shit up, man. This is real. This is
We're gonna
super
need a
real.
picture of that to
Yeah, I'm
document
gonna
it.
need some tangible proof of that. Menlo Park Mall, man, Menlo Park, New Jersey, the city of
Wow.
light, where Thomas Alva Edison invented the first light bulb, and I saw him smoking a cigarette and flying a helicopter.
Hopefully, there's a brick there that memorializes all of those things that happened.
Totally.
And
Right there.
and at some point, I mean, I don't know how long monkeys live, but like, did they should have like stuffed them then or something and put them like on, like on roller skates, but like at the top of the escalator or something.
Oddly enough, though, that monkey had so much juice in New Jersey that his son was actually the monkey from BJ and the Bear. Greg Evigan went to my high school. He did. He went to him and John Bon Jovi. But swear to God, this was what happened with that. Anyway, so many people are gonna be, "What are you even talking about?"
What are you guys? Are you guys high right now? These stories sound fake.
These sound so big. The great thing about it is you can't prove any of this stuff without a spinal tap. Is what we, anyway.
Well,
Uh,
speaking of well, women and interesting things going on. I don't know how it really ties to Mother's Day. Definitely an interesting story, kind of tied to police work and law enforcement in Georgia that you sent to us.
yeah,
Quite interesting. And I want to remind people too. We apologize for Chris not being here today. We forgot to mention that because we were already laughing walking into this, but he wanted to remind everyone that he is currently working on a deal to buy several planes from Spirit Airlines. So,
yeah, yeah. It's
Chris, good luck with that.
right.
Um, we'll see if you can get that runway down there or whatnot.
Yeah, Air
Maybe
Polska.
do a flyover,
Right,
Air
right,
Polska.
right. Air Polska. Um, Yeah, well, and obviously we miss him, but he's here in spirit for us as always. So,
Of
Chris,
course,
be safe
he's
with what you're dealing
Spirit
with, and
Airline Spirit.
best of luck. Yes, best of luck there in Spirit Airlines. There you go. Anyway, but yeah, it's
So tell
kind
us
of
about this. Yeah, this
it's making
Georgia
lips like
mayor
Georgia
story.
is just a state over. Georgia is a great place, man. Georgia is like a really great state. It's nestled between Florida, where Chris is at, and South Carolina, where I am. And Georgia, generally in the law enforcement world, is really kind of pretty professional. It's not as like out there reputation wise as some southern agencies are here. But this place in Georgia is called Cohutta, Georgia, which is a town, if you've been paying attention to law enforcement at all, that the mayor of the town fired the entire 10-man police department,
Hmm.
basically for getting into, at least what's alleged, is they got into some things on social media, posting about the mayor's wife, who used to be the town clerk, who subsequently lost her job to that, but the mayor remained. And there was some, back and forth about access to restricted records and things like that. And the mayor's response, the mayor Ron Shinnick is his name, fired the
Chinook,
entire
yep.
police department, and you know, later found out that he didn't really actually have the authority to do that. So this mayor, is running around like he's some sort of the emperor has no clothes kind of a thing. Like he can just do whatever he wants whenever he wants to. There's a town charter that
Right.
actually exists. The town's quite small. It's near the Tennessee border, at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's kind of beautiful out there. Definitely a unique part of our country. But he fired everybody, and the answer to the people of Cohutta was, "I'm going to put a sign on the door and says, if you need anything, just call the Winfield County Sheriff's Office non-emergency number if you need any help whatsoever." So it was somewhat abrupt, and obviously very shocking to probably a lot of people in that town, as well as the officers. And it's you think you see it all. Georgia, again, is a pretty locked down state. We had Chris Harvey, one of my classmates, on this show, who is now very high up with Georgia Post. He did a lot of things working with elections. He's a squared away guy. Georgia generally has that reputation.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming that a lot of people got involved in this. Like, it's basically turning out to become somewhat of an embarrassment, to address this situation. But it kind of speaks to the fact that, like, you're not getting fired because of something related to the mayor, like directly involved in government. It's like he's defending the honor of his wife via social media. And it's just like, we've seen it all here. You know what I mean? In this case,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it's like
unreal.
it's so stupid on a lot of levels. But speaking to the sign you said too that he was putting out, there was also another sign, I guess, that had been posted on the door of the police station that said, "quote The PD has been dissolved and all personnel have been terminated." So this guy just, I envision this like it's Hazard County, Dukes of Hazard, and
Right,
he's
right.
Boss Hog
Boss
riding
hog.
around in some
Right,
big
right,
convertible Eldorado, smoking a cigar with a white cowboy hat, and he's like, he's telling the deputies what to do and where they can and can't go, and all that kind of shit. But yeah, I mean, looking into the story a little bit, I guess there was some type of earlier incident where this guy's wife had worked in another capacity in the city, and then she was doing something else, and these officers, brought it to the attention of, I guess, what the village or the council, or were just posting things on social media. And like you said, next thing you know, this guy thinks that he's just got the authority to step up and say, "Okay, you're all fired. I'm just shutting down the police department."
police department.
Which
Right.
which is you know it's kind of funny because it's like small town shenanigans kind of stuff, but when it also speaks to some of the things that we talk about all the time, where some of these politicians just think that they have so much power.
Right.
They
Right.
I get it. You're in whatever this little town is, you're the big shot. You're the um mayor of a town of, what did it say, a little less than 1,000 people.
I think it was
But
like
to think that you
864
can
as the
just,
last census. Yeah.
how much?
64 as of the
Yeah,
last census.
yeah, and then they're interviewing the officers and saying, this is you're putting people in jeopardy here and whatnot. And I don't know anything about this town or where it's located or where the closest, sheriff's office post or county seat is or whatever that you would have to be supplemented by this. Um, but it's just one of these ridiculous stories. And the other thing too that is funny is that he well they did a they've since reinstated, right? There was a follow-up story to this,
The chief and all
and
10 officers, yeah.
the yeah, they were all brought back, and they had this meeting where the mayor, stormed out of there, I guess, and didn't want to finish the meeting. But one of the funniest things that they said was that several of the residents that were at this meeting were trying to live stream the meeting so people could see and hear it, but they had such terrible cell service that they couldn't, they couldn't live stream the meeting. So
Insult and
like,
injury. And the mayor got mad at them and fired all those citizens too. He just fired everybody. You're all
right,
everyone's like
right.
Donald Trump. You're fired.
And he
You know.
canceled the city's Comcast account.
Yeah, right. With that, but just like the firing of the police officers, the town attorney said that he actually violated the city's charter and says that he didn't give the 30 days required notice for anybody to be terminated from a government position there. So
Hmm.
that's the reason the officers got their jobs back, is because it was a violation of the town charter. Now, if he gave them 30 days notice, would they still have allowed it? Like, all right, I'm getting 30 days, you're all out because you said something about my wife's ankles, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, like my wife's gankles or whatever, like what, like it doesn't, like, this is who's in charge of your town. Again, small town, we get it, but it's making national news and amongst police circles. It's like, it's almost hilarious. Like, I've heard of before where towns dissolved their police department because they were no longer solvent, like they
Hmm.
couldn't pay the officers and it just went away, or a bunch of officers came in and said, we are going to resign because of the way you're treating us. You're not, equipping us or training us properly or compensating us fairly or not backing us in what we're doing. And this is a first, I got to admit, where the entire department was fired because of social media posts. Now, I wonder if they actually have the town that size, the 10 officers, have a social media policy, like getting on there and saying, let me, like, you know what I mean? Like every major agency, any agency has a social media policy of what you can and can't say and how you can represent yourself versus repping yourself as as a representative of the agency. We have to fully disclose that we don't represent any of the agencies that we work for. Anybody that does this work that's currently on the job does that, and even retirees would. But this is like, what were they saying? That to me is like, God, I wish, did they take the
I know
page
that's
down?
the
Like,
part.
is it like some celebrity that's saying that they hate Jews or something like that, and they don't want to get in trouble, so they take all their stuff down? Like, what did they do? Like, how did they
Yeah,
get rid of the information? Why are there no screenshots of what the officers were actually saying, other than we're just saying it's a personal vendetta that the mayor and his wife had against the
they were
officers because
criticizing her produce at the farmers market on a Sunday morning.
she's bringing in peaches from South Carolina. These aren't
Right,
Georgia peaches. How
right.
dare they?
There's worms in this corn that I bought from her.
Right? It's
What?
terrible.
How dare you? And the mayor, that they did put one picture of him in the article, and he does look like a stroke. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he looks like some kind of
Like wearing a
poor man's
fedora at a
Panama
wedding or
Jack with his
something.
dumb hat. He's like at a
Yeah,
wedding,
right.
and his wife Pam, often a very popular city clerk name. I think
Yeah,
you see that quite a bit.
is a very Pam is a very clerky sounding name. I think it's like,
Hmm.
if you're predisposed to be a city clerk. I think if your parents name you Pam at this point. My favorite city clerk is personally, I reach out and try to like figure out about who the city clerks are, and I've always found that I had a real fondness for one's named Pam. My personal favorite one, I got a rookie card when she worked with us, was named Pam. I don't
Right,
know what it
right.
is. I mean, it really,
Is it
it must
Pam?
be
Pam?
Pam. Um, but Pam obviously was probably. I would love to hear the pillow talk between Pam, although that's protected conversations. I would love to hear the pillow talk at their house in the foothills about what he was going to do about this. Because
Right,
I
right,
would
right.
like most of us like we're probably like, what do you want me to do? I can't do shit. And like he's like, all right, now I
Nobody
got to do
treats my lady like this.
no jokes on my lady like this. My God. And the the whole idea of this is like seriously, like we'll call out cops whenever they do something. Like this is why they say to you, stay off social media. Like
Right.
this is such a joke and a headache, and there could be some really good coppers there in the work that they got to do in that part of the state. It could be really rural, like we talk about what rural cops have to put up with the funding and the dealing, and you're out there on your own and things along those lines. But like again, the root of all evil for cops is like the things you write down and post on social media, like
Hmm.
talking to people, saying things further, explaining yourself in person, maybe making a controversial statement in the presence of people can be defended a whole lot easier than you type this out and it's your name and it's your account. Like, did you want to? I mean, although the mayor exceeded his authority in the charter, did you want to put everybody through this? Like, why were you guys doing? Was it that bad? Why
Hmm.
didn't you just hire an attorney or something? I, mean, I know maybe you didn't have an attorney. Why didn't you go like do something different? I know like the mayor has a lot of juice with a lot of people in his town, like controlling the you know the city attorney, the clerk, even though that's probably an elected position. But when it's all tied in like that, like I don't know, like I'm mixed about it. I was like, why get into it on that level? And
Hmm.
was it that bad? Nobody lost their jobs about anything. They just didn't like the access to restricted records, which we get, especially after the fact. Like you're
Hmm.
not in that role anymore. You should try to do what you can to remove yourself from that, scrutiny, so to speak. But this
Right.
one was like, wow, this is
Well,
really
and
wild.
even though we're joking about it too, when you talk about, we've talked about recently about things like internal affairs, and here's a situation where, again, you're talking about a small agency, right? And I don't know, what their policies are, and they probably don't have necessarily. They may not have just an internal affairs person. They might just have an HR person for the city, or somebody, some combination of. But all kidding aside, you're also talking about the rights of these officers too. That they have due process, or if there was something that this mayor had an issue with, then you would generate an inquiry into that, or is there an internal investigation? I mean, obviously it sounds like it was very clear that people were posting stuff, so it wasn't a real big secret. And we, again, we don't know what they were saying. Was it just, were they mocking her? Were they, bringing up facts about certain things? Were they maybe talking about things that they shouldn't have been talking about in a social media forum? But regardless, what should have been happening is, they should have been, I don't care what size agency you are, they should have been saying, okay, mayor sees this post. Mayor's got a problem with this, right? Okay, then he's going to talk to the chief of police, and they're going to, you're going to handle it just like any internal affairs thing would be. And it may not be, I'm not saying this is the case of the century, or it's some big in depth investigation. It may just be something simple as, hey, the chief goes to these couple of officers or sergeant, whoever posted it, and said, hey, was this you that posted this? Yeah. Is it a violation of our policy? Yes or no? You know what I mean? That's the way to handle it. But when you have, again, it goes back to these some of these politicians that get into these positions of power, even though it's a power of a town of 865 people. You still There's still a process, and there would still be a process, just like if this guy's wife really did do something, or if she violated something as an employee of the city, there would be some type of HR process to document what she did, and potential consequences for that as well. So to think that, you know it goes beyond just the ignorance of walking in and saying, you said something about my wife on social media, and I've just fired all of you. You don't come to work. I put a sign on the door. You're all done. I mean, I don't know how stupid this guy is to think that you could actually do that. I mean, come on. I don't care where it is that you work, or live, or govern, in what part of the country. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
it's just stupid. I mean, that's why it's kind of comical, because it's so stupid on so many levels. I mean, imagine working any of the places that we have, where a mayor walked in and just puts a sign on the door and says, you guys don't work here anymore. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I mean they've all been reinstated since
Hmm.
the town council handled it. The deputy mayor or somebody in the position like got everybody together, and the mayor was not involved in this process. But they voted to reinstate all the officers, and then they tabled the idea of actually getting rid of the mayor at this point for what he did. And they were like, yeah, because you know the problem with all of that is that you know like you said, it's not the biggest town in the world. But if like let's say Cohuta is like if I'm saying that right, is the same as other turnout for election, 20% of the people in 864 people is like less than 100 people can elect this guy to be mayor.
Hmm.
Like he's just got to be tied with 86 people, and if he's like I don't know if he's in the Sons of the Confederacy still or something like that. He can probably get enough people to go, yeah, I'm going to vote for him. What the heck? I voted for him. I know him because he took care of me here, took care of me there. And it's just like, does that really solve the problem? What peripheral problems does this create for the town? I'm sure plenty of people were there to film it because they wanted their police department back. They didn't want deputies from Winfield County because like that's not their agency. This is like people were probably like, this is ridiculous. This is like 2026. What are we doing here? Like he's
Right.
running around. What is he running around like he's a king with a scepter or something down there? Like, and he's got that, that cape with the speckles on it. It looks like they killed a Dalmatian, and thing on it. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, it's like, how are they going to handle like that? I looked up what the town was known for. It's like it's a tiny town. Like I mean,
Uh-huh.
really, really small. But they said that they have a Independence Day celebration. I was like, well, doesn't everybody have an Independence Day
Right.
celebration? That's what they're known for. But it's like, all right, you're working that parade as a police officer, and he's riding in the back of like, the local Ford dealership. He's riding in the back of a car.
Right. The
Like,
Mustang. Yeah.
are you going to turn your back on him at the traffic control
Right.
point that you're at? Like,
Somebody throws a
what are we
tomato
doing
at
here?
him.
Yeah, yeah. Because somebody throws a peach at him because Georgia's the peach state. Like they're just hurling that kind of fruit at him. Actually, did you know that South Carolina actually produces more peaches than Georgia does?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's there
Now,
you go.
now I do.
These are the things I learned since I moved down here. It's a very touchy subject along the
and
border there.
and I think as part of his disciplinary action is he for that festival he has to be in the freezing cold dunk tank for three
Yeah,
days of the festival.
right, right. And he had this crazy idea that when he fired the police department, he was going to appoint the B-52s to be the actual cops in that town because they're from Athens, Georgia. So that kind of stuff could like this is it was
It's
he's
about
gone
to
mad. The
set
man's gone mad.
sail.
Right, right. It's like, but I mean, like you're literally talking about a place where I think they filmed Deliverance. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like what's going on there? Like it's just,
yeah.
look, I'm not mocking the coppers. I'm not mocking like I would just say like anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're in this small town, whether it's some backwater burg that everybody's like. The reason that this story is up there is because it's like in rural Georgia and it's something everybody can like slap their leg about and laugh. But like, stay off social media, man. Like it's just like this is the kind of crap like. You wanted to do your job. You've been reappointed. It's a really funny story that you can tell, but it was like, was it 10 days that you weren't on the job and then people needed your help and didn't get it simply because you wanted to take to social media to do that? Or was his wife, for lack of a better term, that much of a bitch and like was like driving a lot of this? Like, either way, I mean, it's not good for the people that live in that town that you're serving.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a lot. That seems like a lot of officers too for a town that small. Maybe not. I mean, I guess if that's your whole chief and all the way down. So I really would, and I wish we had access to or could have known more about what these complaints were because I think that would have totally, that definitely plays a factor in this too.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they're getting their jobs.
Right, that's good. Right. I mean, like their Kalia guy was there. Like he was really preoccupied and not like, hey guys, we're in kind of a violation of a Kalia policy here, because he also has to clean out the possum traps, from what I understand. This weather is really the possums are out because
It's
we haven't had a
terrible.
dry
It's
summer.
terrible.
There's some really bad fires down there. So, again, prayers to those folks that live in that
Yeah.
area where that experience that. But like, that's the news that's newsworthy. This is kind of like, man, like what? This is this is just
I think there
nuts.
was talk too that they were going to be able to transfer them all to public works for mosquito abatement just for the summer until they could get back.
Standing water. What are we gonna do about this standing water, y'all?
Y'all, I If for some reason there is someone out there that's listening in the general area of Cohutta, Georgia, we would love for you to contact us and see if
Yeah,
there's some
right,
more details we can get about this, or something that, maybe there was a story in the Cohutta Times,
right,
or
yeah,
some
right,
type of
right. The
editorial, or the Cohutta Penny Saver, something along those lines.
right.
Yeah.
It's a sad day, that's for sure, because it's 2026 and this is the stories we're talking about here. But we thought it was funny to kind of like bring it up. We needed to do something a little more lighthearted here as of late because we've been having a lot of heavy topics. So this is like all over the Police One feeds and any police read that you have. I mean, it was
Hmm.
even on the flyover, the website that I follow for news. So it's like
Hmm.
small town, but it's making big waves for people. There's a lot of interest
Seriously.
in it because if people weren't clicking on the story, it'd have been gone by now. So
Well,
it's
yeah, and
kind of
like we
funny
said,
to
it speaks to bigger problems in the police world when you're dealing with, I don't care what size police department you are, when you're dealing with police officers, politicians, people who think that they can just make policy and tell people what they can and can't do in police departments and whatnot. And there's some places where, don't get me wrong, there's places where mayors have a very big impact. They can hire and fire police chiefs and whatnot. And I get that. But when it's just these knee jerk things that people do, and those people that do, just like police, we're always talking about being held accountable, and the things that we do in law enforcement, and that you're always being, scrutinized for what you're doing. The same things should apply when politicians do these idiotic things like this, who think they can walk in and hang the "we're closed" sign on the front door of the police department. So glad to see them getting reinstated. Hopefully they take a look at some of their policies and tighten this up so they don't have a situation like this again, because in the end, who gets hurt by it the most? The citizens. Again, small town, I don't know what their crime or calls for service are like there, but just like any town anywhere in the country, 950 or 900,000, those residents are relying on those police officers to be there for them. And it was good to see that people went to these meetings to speak up. It sounds like, to try to get this resolved, and hopefully they can work this out.
And as we've said before, we certainly hope that all city clerks are named Pam are not judged through the nexus of this. Like they're not the lens of this should not besmirch Pams that do this work or have done this work.
Right. Shout out to our Pams.
Shout out to our Pams. It's not just a cooking spray anymore. Anyway, all right, I'll end it here because I'll use Chris to close us out. So
Dude, Gallagher's